Theodore Roosevelt, the bold leader who transformed America. Roosevelt's early life and rise to power. Theodore Roosevelt was born on October 27, 1858, in New York City into a wealthy but compassionate family. Despite suffering from asthma and poor health as a child, he refused to let it define him. He embraced a rigorous lifestyle, lifting weights, boxing, and spending time outdoors, developing this strenuous life philosophy that would define his career. Roosevelt attended Harvard University, where he excelled academically before diving into politics at just 23 years old. He served in the New York State Assembly, where he earned a reputation as a reformer who fought corruption. However, tragedy struck when his mother and first wife died on the same day in 1884. Devastated, he left politics and retreated to the Badlands of North Dakota, becoming a rancher and cowboy, an experience that deepened his love for the American wilderness. But Roosevelt wasn't one to stay away for long. He returned to politics, serving as New York City Police Commissioner, where he cracked down on corruption, then became Assistant Secretary of the Navy under President McKinley. But it was the Spanish-American War that truly propelled him to national fame. The Rough Riders and Spanish-American War. In 1898, the United States went to war with Spain, and Roosevelt saw an opportunity to serve his country firsthand. He resigned from his Navy position and formed the Rough Riders, a volunteer cavalry unit made up of cowboys, miners, and Ivy League athletes. Roosevelt and his men became famous for their charge up San Juan Hill in Cuba, a bold attack that helped secure victory for the U.S. and made him a national hero. His fearless leadership, combined with his larger-than-life personality, captured the American imagination. After returning home, Roosevelt used his newfound popularity to win the governorship of New York in 1898. His progressive reforms clashed with powerful political bosses who sought to sideline him by pushing him into the vice presidency under President William McKinley in 1900. But their plan backfired. When McKinley was assassinated in 1901, Roosevelt became the youngest president in U.S. history at just 42 years old. The Progressive Era and the Square Deal. As president, Roosevelt wasted no time making bold changes. He believed in using government power to ensure fairness for all Americans, calling his policies the Square Deal, a commitment to consumer protection, corporate regulation, and conservation. One of his biggest battles was against big business monopolies. He became known as a trust buster, breaking up powerful corporations that exploited workers and consumers. He also passed groundbreaking food safety laws, like the Pure Food and Drug Act and Meat Inspection Act, after Upton Sinclair's book The Jungle exposed unsanitary conditions in meatpacking plants. But Roosevelt wasn't just about reform, he also transformed the presidency itself. He used the office as a bully pulpit to directly influence public opinion, making the president a central figure in American life. His energetic leadership defined the Progressive Era, a movement that sought to correct the inequalities of the Gilded Age. Conservation and national parks legacy. Perhaps Roosevelt's most lasting impact was his dedication to conservation. An avid outdoorsman and naturalist, he saw firsthand how deforestation and industrial expansion were destroying America's wilderness. As president, he took unprecedented action to protect the environment. Created 5 national parks, including Crater Lake and Wind Cave. Established 18 national monuments, including the Grand Canyon. set aside 150 national forests, preserving 230 million acres of land for future generations. Roosevelt believed that natural resources should be used wisely, but also protected, a balance that shaped modern conservation efforts. His leadership laid the foundation for the National Park Service, which would be created years later in 1916. Thanks to his vision, millions of Americans can still enjoy the country's natural beauty today. The Panama Canal and foreign policy. Roosevelt also had a bold vision for America's role on the world stage. His most famous foreign policy approach was summarized by his quote, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." This meant negotiating peacefully while maintaining a strong military presence. One of his greatest achievements was overseeing the construction of the Panama Canal, a massive engineering project that connected the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Roosevelt played a key role in securing Panama's independence from Colombia and ensuring U.S. control over the canal zone. The canal revolutionized global trade and cemented America's influence in the Western Hemisphere. He also strengthened the U.S. Navy, sending the Great White Fleet on a world tour to showcase American naval power. His diplomatic efforts even won him the Nobel Peace Prize in 1906 for helping negotiate an end to the Russo-Japanese War, making him the first American to receive the honor. Roosevelt's later years and legacy. After serving 2 terms, Roosevelt chose not to run again in 1908, supporting his friend William Howard Taft as his successor. However, he soon became frustrated with Taft's leadership and decided to run for president again in 1912, this time as a third-party candidate under the progressive Bull Moose Party. Although he lost the election, Roosevelt remained a dominant force in American politics. In 1914, he embarked on a dangerous expedition in the Amazon rainforest, nearly dying of infection and exhaustion. Even in his later years, he remained outspoken, advocating for military preparedness during World War I. Theodore Roosevelt passed away on January 6, 1919, at the age of 60, leaving behind a legacy of strength, reform, and conservation. His fearless leadership transformed the presidency, and his impact on American life, politics, and the environment continues to be felt today. His face is even carved into Mount Rushmore, alongside Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln, a testament to his place among America's greatest leaders.